Um, Today I will look at the digital transition, but I will do it from a strategic business perspective. Next slide, please. We are sometimes led to believe that tomorrow we will all be replaced by computers, and that maybe robots or computers will do our job. If you look at the developments in artificial intelligence, we're all talking about artificial intelligence. We have seen Deep Blue winning from Kasparov. We have seen Watson win the Jeopardy game. We have seen the global champion in Go beaten by a computer, and only 2 days ago the computer became the winner in poker. So what's next? What's the reason that for us? Why should we be around if computers are so smart? Well, the thing is that people talking about computers and talking about the future, they extrapolate from the present. So let's say make a comparison with cars. Let's say it's now 1930, so back in time. And we look at the development of cars, and we look at the first Benz, which is 40 years ago now, and it was slower than a horse. And today we have cars that do 100 kilometers an hour, which is amazing. So if I'm talking about the future in 1930, I will promise you we'll have cars today which can do 3,000 kilometers an hour. But it didn't happen. So it is not the right thing to look at the past and developments up till today and extrapolate to the future. But you should not take my word for it. Recently we have had the Global Economic Forum in Davos, and there has been a presentation by Sergey Brin. Sergey Brin, he is the co-founder of Google, so he knows something about this. And I have chosen a brief fragment of less than a minute about something he said in Davos. With a bit of luck, he'll talk. Artificial intelligence or not, technique is still a tricky thing. If we will, do we have sound? Otherwise I'll just say what he said.
I think it definitely requires some thought and incredibly, and I'm here at Davos and I'm just shocked at how I feel like the Luddite in the room. You know, everybody's talking about, well, how do we cope with this increased automation here and the jobs displaced and so forth? And, you know, I feel like the one like, oh, you know, actually that's pretty hard to do with a computer, and I kind of know what we're trying to accomplish to make that technology work. And I think a lot of folks here are, I think, correctly forward thinking, taking some of those innovations for granted and then saying, well, what does that mean for society and so forth?
Well, that's interesting. He is the inventor of the computer that won with Go. So he is very much into artificial intelligence. And he is in Davos, and what does he say? I feel like the Luddite in the room. What is the Luddite? It's the people who at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution wanted to destroy the machines because they didn't believe in it. So he is the only non-believer in Davos. And he's the one who's actually doing the stuff. What does he say? Well, some of these things are actually hard to do with a computer, you know. So it's people like me, people like you who are talking about the digital future, but we don't have to do the programming. So that's one thing we should keep in mind. Now let's look at it from, let's say, an economic perspective. There are 5 steps when assessing the economic viability of the digital future. Step 1. Well, the background magically dropped, but it doesn't matter. No. One at a time. Technical feasibility. Is what we want possible at all? Not everything is possible technically today. So that's the first basic step. Is it doable in theory? Next one. What does it cost? We might be able to fly to Mars, I don't know, but it is very, very expensive. So in order to fund it, we need people who come up with the money. That is an issue. Why is it an issue for, let's say, the legal sector, Does any one of you know the size of the global legal sector? It's a rhetorical question, I will tell you. It is estimated between 670 billion and 700 billion dollar. That sounds like a lot. It is a lot. I don't have it. But to put it into perspective, Walmart alone does half of that. So how interesting is the legal sector for investors? So if it is possible, is someone going to put money in it? Next one. Labor market dynamics. If we can come up with something and someone is willing to invent or to invest in it, is it a solution to replace people? If people are cheap, why do it? Because it will be more expensive. So you have to look at, let's say, the availability of the labor force and, let's say, the price of the labor. Fourth one. Economic benefits. That's an interesting thing. I give you an example. It is very easy to produce today light bulbs which are very energy efficient. So all of these could be 4 watt instead of 70. And you save on your energy bill. So it looks like a no-brainer to change them all. But you know, the cost of changing them is very high. A guy needs to come in, he needs to step up a ladder, so even though it is possible, even though it exists, the cost of implementing could be very high. I'll give you one other example. Let's look at self-driving trucks, lorries. They will be on the road, I think, in 5 years' time. But you know the price of a truck. It is, let's say, 100,000 euros and up. So if I have a shipping company and I have 50 trucks, am I going to throw them all away if there is a new technology? Don't think so. So, is it possible? What does it cost? Is there money to develop? Does it make sense in the labor market? And does it make sense economically to replace the existing infrastructure we have? What's the fifth one? Social acceptance. Even if things are possible and have an economic benefit, it might be that society doesn't accept it. It depends on the technology. I give you an example I heard on the radio earlier this week. Today it is possible to grow human organs on pigs. So you can grow a human heart on a pig. It's possible, there has been put money into it. It will solve a problem of donor transplant organs, and it is not accepted by society, so it will never happen. If you look at the digital future, if you look at the transformation, we need to look at it from a realistic and a business point of view. Next slide, s'il vous plaît. So, where are we today? There are many developments already in the legal sector, notably ROS, which is it's built on Watson, so on the intelligent IBM structure. And I had the privilege a few months ago to talk to Andrew Aruda, and he is the founder of ROS, so he is really a smart guy, and he earns money of ROS. And I talked to him and I asked him, do you think ROS in the future will replace a lawyer? Oh, no. That's not my intention. That's what the press makes out of it. ROS is there to make lawyers work more efficient. And just the other week, end of next week, there was a report that had been published. And what did they do? They had people, experienced knowledge managers of law firms, and they got the request to search something in a database. And let's say some of them searched in Thomson Reuters, others searched in LexisNexis, and some searched using ROS. The ones using ROS were 30% more efficient and 43% more accurate. It doesn't replace the lawyer, it makes them more efficient. Next slide, please. So, more efficient. Documents. I think the previous speaker mentioned something about it. Document management, e-discovery, this kind of techniques, it's out there, use it, it will make you more efficient, it will not replace you. It is to make you work easier. Next slide, please. But before we get carried away, what is the most important thing if you think about the digital transformation, the digital revolution? It is cybersecurity. It is something we should focus on instead of focusing on innovation. I know from personal experience 2 law firms in the last quarter who got all their files crypto-locked. All of them. Couldn't work. They needed to pay a lot of bitcoins in order to get them back. We all read in the news about the insider trading done by hackers who stole precious information about M&A. Law firms are interesting for hackers. And while we are focusing on the next app, while we are focusing on a pretty website, they steal our information. So if we start investing money into something digital, do the basics first, start looking into putting money into cybersecurity. Next slide, please. This is a human. And I firmly believe that what lawyers do, in essence, is something that humans can only do. It's about negotiating, it's about tactics, it's about being innovative in finding legal solutions. I give you one example, because I'm running out of time. The best paid M&A lawyer in the world at this point is Scott Bradshaw. He moved from Cravat, a New York-based law firm, to Paul Weiss a year ago, and he got a signing bonus of $10 million just for signing. I know people who met him in an M&A transaction. So I ask, what's so special about Scott Bradshaw? Why is he worth all this money? Is he a legal genius? Does he know all legal precedents by heart? No. He is a very good negotiator. And he knows what things are important and what are not. That's why he's worth $10 million in a signing bonus. The core of our profession is something that only humans can do. But, the computer is there to help us, to make us more efficient, to take away the boring stuff. Next slide, please. The true disruption, I don't have time to go into that, but this is all in the book, is not technique. It's not the computer. The computer is not a disruptor. The computer is not a problem. The computer is a solution. So we don't fear the computer, embrace it. The true disruption is commoditization. We need to look, next slide, almost ready, before we do anything, at the finance. Because law is a business. We are all businesses, big businesses, smaller businesses, but we are a business. We need to look at return on investment before we invest. It needs to make sense from a business perspective. Last slide, please. This is a guy I often keep in mind. This is the entrepreneur who founded Pound World. It's a shop in the UK. They have 108 outlets. Everything costs £1. He makes a lot of money on things that cost £1, €1. Every business decision he takes, every investment he does, is measured against return on investment. We are in a different business, but in essence we are not different from Poundland. We should look, before we invest, and there are good reasons sometimes to invest, on the return on investment, also in the digital future. Last slide and I'm finished. Thank you so much.